It doesn't matter if you're a giant corporation or a tiny startup. Every single business lives in a much larger world, a world full of forces you just can't control. But, and this is a big but, those forces will absolutely control you if you're not paying attention. Today, we're going to dive right into that world. We're talking about the business environment and how you can learn to navigate it. So, to really get a handle on this, we're not going to start with some dry textbook definition. No way. We're going to start with a story, a really powerful one. So, let me introduce you to this man, Dharmveer Kamboj. His life was in Delhi, where he worked as a rickshaw puller. But then one day, a terrible accident changed everything. He couldn't do his job anymore, and he had to move back to his village. And for a lot of people, yeah, that might have been it, the end of the story. But back in his village, with very few options and no real technical training, he started doing something really important. He started to look around. He started to observe. He saw the women in his community doing this grueling, painful work of processing gooseberries by hand on these stone slabs. It was slow, it was agonizing, and he saw something there. Not just a problem, but an opportunity. See, instead of getting crushed by his situation, Dharamveer tuned in to the world around him. He spotted a social problem, the difficult, painful labor of the women in his community. And he spotted an economic one, the complete lack of affordable technology to help them. And that sharp observation of his environment led him to invent something incredible, a multi-purpose food processing machine. His personal motto really says it all. Struggle is the biggest success. If you want to move forward, don't look back. He literally turned an external challenge, a huge one, into a triumph, all because he understood the world he was living in. And that story right there is the perfect small-scale example of a universal truth in business. You absolutely have to understand the world that exists outside your own four walls. So, okay, we get it. His success really came down to that understanding. But what is that world exactly? What do we even call all of those forces out there that can either make you or break you? Well, there's an official name for it: the business environment. It's the sum total of, well, everything. All the people, the institutions, the forces that are outside of a business's control, but can seriously affect how it performs. The best way to think about it is like a weather system that your business has to sail through. You can't control the wind or the waves, but you sure can, and you absolutely must, learn how to adjust your sails. Now, this environment has a few key features you need to know about. First, it's dynamic. It is constantly changing. New tech, shifting customer tastes, a new competitor popping up, it never sits still. And because it's always changing, that makes it incredibly uncertain. Trying to predict the future, it's really, really tough. Just think about how quickly things can get turned upside down, especially with major global events. And the last piece of this puzzle? It's complex, super complex. It's not just one thing acting on your business. It's this massive web of interconnected forces. A shift in technology could change social trends, and that might lead to new laws being passed. It's all connected, and it's much easier to understand if you break it down into pieces. Okay, so if this thing is so dynamic, so uncertain, and so ridiculously complex, how on earth do you even begin to understand it? Well, you draw a map. And that's where this map comes in. It helps us break down this massive, complicated world into 5 key dimensions. Think of these as the main compass points you need to navigate everything happening on the outside. First up, you've got the economic environment. We're talking about the big picture money stuff. Interest rates, inflation, what the stock market's doing. For example, when inflation is high, it can put a major squeeze on a business by driving up the cost of pretty much everything, from raw materials to salaries. Next, we have the social environment. This is all about people, right? Society's customs, its values, its trends. Just think about the recent boom in health and fitness. That one social trend created massive opportunities for businesses selling everything from gym memberships to mineral water and healthy food. Then, of course, there's the big one, the technological environment. This is a game changer. New innovations can create entire industries out of thin air or make old ones completely obsolete. Look at how online booking totally revolutionized the way we travel. Fourth on our map is the political environment. Political stability is absolutely crucial. When a country is peaceful and has a government with a predictable attitude towards business, investors feel confident. Political chaos, on the other hand, It scares away money and can bring growth to a grinding halt. And finally, holding all of this together is the legal environment. Every single business has to play by the rules of the land. This covers everything from laws passed by the government to judgments made in court. It is absolutely essential for management to know these rules to survive, let alone thrive.
Okay, so now we have our map with its 5 dimensions. Let's look at what happens when all of these forces shift at the exact same time. We're talking about a massive, real-world case study. India's economic reforms back in 1991.
Let's rewind to mid-1991. India was staring into an economic abyss. The government was facing a crisis so severe that tinkering around the edges wasn't going to cut it. A massive, fundamental policy shift was the only way out. How bad was it? Get this. India's foreign exchange reserves were so low, they could barely cover imports for just a few weeks. The country was literally on the verge of defaulting on its international loans. So the government responded with what they called a new industrial policy, famously known by the acronym LPG. First L for liberalization, which got rid of the super restrictive license Raj. Then P for privatization, which cut back the role of the public sector. And finally G for globalization, which opened India's economy up to the rest of the world. Now you have to understand, this wasn't just some minor policy change. This was an economic earthquake. It was a dramatic shift across the economic, political, and legal dimensions that completely reshaped the landscape for every single business in the country. It created winners and losers almost overnight. Which brings us right back to our main point. Why does having this map, why does understanding this stuff matter so much? Because a business that truly gets its environment can do some pretty incredible things. It can spot opportunities before anyone else and get that all-important first-mover advantage. It can see threats coming and get an early warning. It helps you find resources, deal with rapid change, and maybe most importantly, it helps you actually plan for the future instead of just reacting to whatever the present throws at you. So when you look at everything from a rickshaw puller's simple but brilliant invention to an entire nation's economic overhaul, the lesson is exactly the same. The world outside your walls is always, always moving. So the question I want to leave you with is this. What forces, economic, social, technological, are reshaping your environment right now? And what are you going to do about it?